Hello, my name is Maika Harper, and you are watching The Permanent Rain Press.
Hi everyone, it's Chloe with the Permanent Rain Press today. I am so happy to be joined by Micah Harper. How are you?
I'm super well.
I'm so excited to chat with you about North of North, which is releasing in 1 week's time now on Netflix. So to jump right into the series and your character Neevee, how did you shape her key personality and physical traits? So that could be anything from her values and mannerisms to her wonderful Inuit facial tattoos and what that signifies for her womanhood.
I really delved into the character. I thought that she was such a perfect representation of a lot of Inuit in small, like rural communities. And there's so many people like her that I know that are so strong with their tattoos, with their reclamation, with their like just overt boldness, really. She's so bold, she's so caring at the same time. And I think the audience sees that, but the community definitely doesn't. So it's an interesting character to delve into. I really admire so many of her traits. She's just so loyal to her family, and that's something that I resonate with personally. I've got two of my own babies, so I think that I would do anything just like she does for Siaja. It's beautiful to watch their relationship kind of grow and transform throughout the season.
And so much of who she is as a character is defined and shaped by her past. And we slowly kind of peel back those layers throughout the season. Can you expand upon the trauma and guilt that Neevee has carried privately with having her baby girl taken from her at 16 and how that's manifested in her personal life as a mother and in her relations with men?
I feel like it's such a complex topic to kind of delve into because it could take days to talk about. It's so fierce and it's filled with fire. And she is, a mom. And I think when it comes to those sayings like a mama bear and her cubs and stuff like that, we're ferocious when it comes to our children. And she is also quite guarded, and she has so much trauma from her past relationships. And you see that at the end of the season, and to see what she's actually really gone through. And I'm excited because she touches on subjects that not many people touch on. And that's like, whether it be adoption or your family is kind of broken apart. Those are real things, and I personally have gone through that myself. And so it's been really wild to be able to work through Neevee and work through my own personal issues as well. Being an Indigenous woman is really difficult, and the trauma that we carry is so rich and diverse, and there's so many different layers to it. And she is such a perfect embodiment of all of those layers.
And there's something to be said about, the authenticity in these stories and like what the showrunners wanted to tell with the scripts and getting to kind of pull from personal experience as well. And you mentioned the end of the season. Like I want to talk about that scene in episode 8 in the general store between Neevee and Siaja, where she finally shares her past with her daughter. It was such a powerful scene. How did you prepare for that emotionally and with that dialogue?
It was really wild because the scene itself was so hard and so intense. And we had to do different shots and different angles. And to stay in that moment for so long was really kind of difficult. It was really uncomfortable. It was nice to shake off at the end of the day. But I think I think it's so powerful, that last scene between the two. And it really shows the caring between the two and how much they really do love each other and that they need each other and their family. And it's so important to kind of show those beautiful, like, beautiful moments between families because this was really difficult to shoot. It was also in water, might I add. So it was also, there were so many different things that we were kind of battling against while we were filming it. It was a lot of fun. I'm happy that I did that scene because, again, it lays so closely within my own family. So I feel like it was nice to be able to address certain aspects of Siaja's life because she's got such a rich life between her friends and community and then work and, home. That's what a regular person has, is all of those aspects of their life, and they're so different. And to see the beauty of the two coming together at the end was really powerful, I think.
I think you both gave so much, especially you in those scenes. And it came after that explosive episode 7 argument that they shared. So to kind of, see that come to not full circle, but almost like a bit of more of an understanding between mother and daughter. I want to talk about Neevee and Alistair's relationship. What is she struggling with this revived relationship and in his genuine attempts to reconnect with her?
I think it's so layered again. She's such a complex character, and I think she's so guarded. And when he comes back, there's, that vulnerability that she is just not about. She is not a vulnerable person. She is a hard person. She has made that clear throughout the years, throughout Sia's life, throughout the history of the show. And so she is quite hard. And so I think she realizes her vulnerability and she kind of does like a little self-sabotage, if you will. She purposefully stops that from happening. And it's really kind of sad to watch. I watched it with everybody just as everybody was watching it here in Canada when it came out originally. And to watch it every Tuesday with everybody was so much fun, but also so scary because I was on that ride with you, and to see the scenes that they kept and the scenes that they cut, and and putting it all together, it was so beautiful. But seeing her relationship with Alistair, is so difficult to watch. I think it's so uncomfortable because she's not a vulnerable person again, so she doesn't like to put herself out there. She's good, and so when it's like in her face, I think it's no longer good. So she does everything she can to stop that, even if it's bad.
And it's something she definitely was working throughout the season, but you get these glimpses like the memory box that she kept, including, the cassette tape that of music that he made her. So you can see how much that relationship meant to her, that she kind of had to put those walls up earlier on before Siaja was born. I just have to ask, was it ever discussed with the creative team if Neevee was made aware of Alistair and Siaja's kiss? Because that wasn't really touched upon.
It was never touched upon. I don't personally, I kind of jived with the fact that I didn't know, and too many people in the community are too intimidated to talk to Neevee. Really, she's so intense that I don't think anybody would have told her. Even her sisters, like the aunties, no, 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 no. Like, imagine that conversation between the two. Like, who's gonna tell her? You. Like, yeah, no. I always went with the fact that she's just never been told.
I
But
always
that's up for everybody's discussion. So,
Hey,
what do you
I'd
think?
like to hear it from Neevee herself, but it's always kind of interesting because you know so much, right? But then you're thinking, does my character, like, what does she know? What is like her everyday life like? And
Yeah.
at the end of season 1, Alistair, he'll be staying in Ice Cove for work, but he makes it clear he's staying for Siaja and Bun. Where do you think Neevee's headspace is at hearing that now that she has relieved the burden of her deepest secrets?
I think it's kind of a big weight off of her shoulders, but it's kind of also a transformation of different weight. So instead of weight on her shoulders, I think she's got a lot of unpacking to do. I think it's going to be interesting if if there is a season two. I can't talk on that. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen, but it's nice to think about.
It's always almost like, the possibilities in her eyes kind of opened up there, but she's still working, like you mentioned, she still has a lot to unpack before maybe she says yes to that possibility. You had so many amazing scene partners, but of course I want to say the main three for you, which is Jay, Anna, and Keira as superstar young Bun. How are these three to work with, and did you get to know one another to build that chemistry that we see on screen?
Anna is such a good friend of mine. We knew each other before the show, just not long before the show, actually. And so it was nice to connect with her, and then to reconnect with her was even better because she was already a friend. So it felt really natural to kind of dive into the deep end. And I was such a heavy character, and she was so light, and so I think the balance between the two was really a lot of fun to play with. She's so giving and generous, and I was just really fortunate to be able to be her scene partner. But then Bun was wild. She was so much fun. I love working with kids. They're the next generation. There's like we think in indigenous culture of the next 7 generations. So it's so beautiful to be able to witness some of these other younger generations, and she is so beautiful. Like she is so funny and playful, and improv can be really difficult for a lot of people, and some people just have it, like they just understand and can like they are the jack in the box. They like to play, they like to have fun, they like to surprise people. And she was that big surprise that I think everybody was like, she was like a breath of fresh air. A lot of energy, I'm not gonna lie, but I also have kids and I understand what that energy is like. So um she was so much fun to work with. She was so playful. She went off script a lot of times. And I think that's where we found a lot of magic. And then with Jay, he was again just a really nice, generous actor, very professional, really like you just on top of his game. He was somebody that I was really fortunate to be able to call a friend at the end. And like we all became friends, even though we worked together like constantly. It was surprising that we didn't want to go our separate ways, but we always wanted to hang out. We would have dinner, we would hang out, we would go dancing, we would, play bingo, we would do the community things. There wasn't much in the Arctic, but we would do as much as we could. And it was a lot of fun. So, yeah.
I love to hear it, and it's always so nice when, these people that you work with, you don't tire from them. They do become like you all went through this experience together, so you're a family now. I wanted to talk about the scripts and bringing the creative team's vision to life. So how was it with Stacey and Alethea and really getting to play with that character? And I'm sure they had a lot of trust in you as well and the decisions that you made.
Stacey and Alethea are such pillars in the Inuit film community. They are, you know, for a lot of people, including myself, they're like the Mecca. It's so nice to be able to work with them, to be able to call them friends, to have the trust in both each other, like back and forth. They put so much trust in me because they had to age me with makeup for the role. And I think that was a scary process for everybody because it wasn't really something that they were expecting. I think they wanted to find Neevee, and I wanted to play Neevee just so badly. So they gave me latex wrinkles on my face, all over my forehead, like all over my face, and they made the wrinkles that I already have. They made them, more pronounced. They gave me white hair. It was kind of a shock to and a tattoos on my face, and it was a kind of a shock to see. And it was almost like looking into the mirror in the future. And so I was really happy to be able to work with such a great team that had so much trust in me because Nevee's a hard character. She's a really heavy, hard, she's like a rock.
For sure, and you've already gone through so much with Navy. Like, I can only hope that if there are future seasons, like a season two, we continue to peel back those layers. I have two more questions for you. What
Yeah.
has the positive support from viewers and the Inuit community meant to you? I know you've had some premiere events already with like CBC,
Yeah.
APTN, and just hearing what the community has to say for the show.
So it's funny because I am so closely bound with the community center here in Toronto. The Inuit Community Center is so beautiful, and I love everybody that works there. I do a lot of the programs as well. Like they've got a lot of great programming. My kids are, heavily entwined in that. So to be able to hear from people, and also it like to a lot of people on the street, because I live in Toronto, have stopped us, like me and my kids, and said, like, "Hey, I really loved the show. You're so, wild, and oh my gosh, I really like your character." And it's so nice to hear from the community, but then to hear it from your own community is even more profound because I'm from a really small community. I'm from Iqaluit, where we filmed. My sister, my brother lives in an even smaller community called Pangertung. My other sister lives in an even smaller community called Arctic Bay. Like my family is from these small communities. And so it's so beautiful and like also a lot of pressure, I think, because I really, really, really just want everybody to fall in love with the show, to fall in love with Siaja and her worlds, because she's got so many worlds.
I think viewers are absolutely going to love all the characters in the show. Lastly, you are a children's book author, so I did have to ask, like, what can you share about your forthcoming book, The First Peoples?
The First Peoples is coming out in June. We have an official date. I just can't say it yet. And we are so excited to be able to work with people during Pride Month. The First Peoples is technically like a transgender story in the Inuit culture. And so it's something that I love. And I really want people to remember our history and our culture. And so I usually write stories that are, mythological that not many people know about. And I'm happy to be able to share it with my communities. And so the First Peoples is just that. It's a mythological story about the creation of the first people that created the people all over the world. And it's a beautiful story. I love it so much. And I think it's just perfect also that it's a trans story that's coming out in June for Pride Month. I couldn't have, like, creator is just amazing.
Well, can't wait for its release, and hopefully the release date soon will be on your socials and people can check it out. And North of North is such a special series. So excited for everyone around the world to meet Neevee. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time as well.
For all those watching, make sure to catch Maika in North of North. Season one is streaming on CBC Gem, APTN, and Netflix worldwide. And we will see you next time.